So good morning. This is the last day. The daily brief will be conducted in this format where I'm not in front of my computer and I'm trying to just speak about it in a limited way. 1,210 Russians are off the battlefield, 36 artillery, 68 vehicles and fuel tanks, so it's hot. It's actually pretty hot around Kharkiv, where there has been some fighting and some kind of counteroffensive taking land back. This is around Vovchansk. They recaptured a few settlements, and the counterattack was limited, but they pushed them back beyond the land barrier, it appears. Okay, so that's the first step. Second thing, NATO's Jens Stoltenberg, and I talked about this the other day, has proposed that there would be a 5-year, $100 billion package to support Ukraine, and that would be from NATO, but NATO members balked at it. They didn't want to do it, and that's unfortunate because it's really hard to plan without the clarity of what will be coming down the pike to the battlefield. And without that, it was brutal to try to conduct a counteroffensive not knowing what would come to backfill things. Okay, and that article was from Nexta, by the way. There was also a Ukrainian drone attack in North Ossetia, Georgia. The Russians have an airfield there. Remember, with Georgia in 2008, I guess it was, took North Ossetia and another region within Georgia, and they now control this airfield. The Ukrainians launched 3 drones, and the early reports were that all 3 were shut down, but of course that's believing what the Russians are saying. There's some fire there, and we don't know exactly the extent of the damage, if there is any damage. Russia has so far destroyed 50%. Think about this, 50% of all Ukrainian power generation, including 73% of thermal power generation, and that means that Ukraine's going to be in for a very, very tough winter. It's going to be brutal. Ukraine is like the equivalent of its latitude. It's like the equivalent of the very top of the United States or Canada, and it's going to be very cold without that power generation. So they're in for a brutal winter. Last and not least, U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson has been consistently saying the U.S. shouldn't micromanage the weapons in Ukraine, or there should be no restrictions on U.S. weapons in Ukraine. And I know that's giving people a hard time to think through that when, wait a minute, Mike Johnson, isn't he the bad guy? Well, he's the one saying no restrictions now. That could be political, but I think we should listen to that. All right, that's all that I have. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.